So I'm just going to record it. And it's also for me, actually, I've been going back to the recording as well to develop the summary, like to write the summary from our meetings. So thank you for supporting that.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I guess we can just do a check-in, Richard. I mean, we can just check in and see where we're at and yeah, what everyone's access needs are. Annie, one of our team members, has really dropped that in for us to kind of check in. So, you know, what makes things accessible for you to be a part of our team and, you know, be able to show up and do the work with us. And so, yeah, if there's anything that you need us to know so that we can support you in a greater way, then yeah, just let us know. And then she really speaks to it being, they're always changing. Our access needs are always changing. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So what would an access need look like? You know, like some people.
Sorry, here comes Ginger. Ginger's coming in. Okay. That's great. She got the memo. Hi, Ginger.
Hi. Hello, Ginger.
Yay! Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
How is it in Argenta?
It's cold.
You're in a cabin. Cabins.
I am in a cabin.
Cabins are generally on the colder side sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, this cabin has got like heated floors and a wood stove. It's a pretty nice cabin. But right now I'm in one of the downstairs of the cabin. It's kind of cold down here. It's much warmer upstairs.
Oh, I see.
My office hall.
That's a luxurious cabin.
It kind of, yeah. It's got, I don't know, Argenta has that effect. It's kind of like craft and luxury in the middle of nowhere. It's got that thing going on. How is it down there? You look so warm.
Well, I've been in a apartment for 12, 13 days, and I'm in COVID lockdown. And because we arrived back from Mexico, so we're in quarantine. But one more day, and I'm good. You know, like we were just going to start a check-in, and so I'm well. I'm in the Vancouver, just overlooking English Bay. Nice place to hang out for a couple of weeks, and I find that wherever I am, it's basically I'm doing the same amount of work, and if I don't get caught up in there should be some other way to do things, then it's totally fine. You know, like I should be able to go for a walk or a bike ride or something, and if I don't put myself in that, then I'm totally fine, which I don't. So, and generally good. I'm productive. I tell you, it's really it's a great way to be productive.
To quarantine. Is that what you're saying? To have that time to isolate and just be with,
yeah, because there's not a lot of I mean, you know, there's not a lot of movement of going or comings and shopping, even, you know, where like somebody comes and gets the dog and somebody comes and gets the everything else. So
will you be heading back up to the Kootenays after quarantine or staying on the coast longer?
Yeah, we're going to come 22nd is the date coming back. Jillian's got a course with the women's course that's coming up, the 7-month intensive immersion course, and then I'm going to do Sasha's course after that.
Oh, awesome! You're going to be in that.
Yeah. And there's a couple of other people coming for that, so I'm looking forward to it. One of our friends, Linda
teaching.
Yeah. What's that? You'll be teaching, yes. You'll be my teacher.
You'll be my teacher.
And Jillian will be assisting, so it'll be great. You know, I love these raw. You know, like it's like this has been coming up recently. Is that it's like, you know, we're all students and we're all teachers. So there's this, you know, like I was having a conversation with Jillian yesterday, going, you know, reminded of conversations I've had over the months and going, oh, actually, when I was having that conversation with Ginger, I was actually teaching myself, you know, it came to me that there was something in that conversation that I needed to get myself. So we're always talking to ourselves almost. So
walking each other home.
Yeah. Excuse me. Okay.
I just want to say I'm not going to be able to stay for the whole call.
Yeah.
I have several appointments today that I'm juggling between, but I had a little window and I wanted to be here for at least part of it. So I might duck out about halfway through.
Okay, why don't you check in?
Yeah, you want to check in with us?
Oh, check in. Well, I'm in Argenta. Life's been pretty full lately, lots of stuff going on. Just signed the papers of selling my house, looking for a new one, been setting up a clinic in negotiations with where I'm going to work in Caslow, and also looking at houses and property buy. I have a lot on my plate. So I've been feeling really full and also excited, and I've been finding myself needing to kind of choose what I'm focusing on for a while, and then I can dive in and kind of like really wrap my head around it and see what wants to percolate, because there's so much this just in a creative process and many different areas of my life. And so with this stuff, I've been finding it a bit challenging to kind of make the space to be able to sit with the material. I've read most of Mark Hayden's book. I know Sasha's stuff, and
well, that's a lot. That's great.
yeah, it's quite a lot. Yeah, so I've been doing that, but in the yesterday, I watched the video of the meeting that I missed last week, and got myself on Mighty Networks and kind of figured out how to work with that. There's a couple things that I haven't been able to find, and I've written some notes of some questions I have.
Okay, we'll get into
and
that. Yeah.
Before even getting into that, just wanting to, what my focus is today for myself is to try to figure out like how I can basically narrow my focus to figure out how I can be of creative support in this project, because I'm finding it so vast, and I can sort of navigate most of it, but I just don't actually have the time and resources to do as much as I,
that's great.
So that's what my question. I'm really curious to kind of dive into that with you guys today.
Well, good.
Yeah.
We can answer that question for sure. And thank you for bringing it up. And that would be one of your access points, as we were just talking about before. My access point is to be, I need knowledge and understanding where my place is. So. So. Okay. Who's next?
Right.
I see somebody.
Yeah. Oh.
Lee, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead. Yeah, I mean, I think I would echo a lot of the things that Ginger just said. I think the main access point for me would be clarity. I mean, I've been looking through the documents and I've been getting some idea of kind of like what you guys are looking for and need support with. But I'd say, yeah, clarity exactly on, things like the scope and what you want, let's say, like the different substance profiles to look like. Kind of like also, there's a lot of stuff I think around the intention and like what you want kind of like the instructors to embody. But I'd also say maybe some stuff around, kind of like maybe where you want to go and maybe the places you want to avoid, like when you're developing the online course, because I mean, online it has its own challenges, right? You don't have an instructor in a room. You're going to have a lot of information, but you got to make sure that that information is actually digested and that the person who's doing the course has actually learned and embodied that. So I'm, looking for clarity in, I guess, those areas. Yeah.
And how about you personally? How are you doing?
Personally, I think, clarity would also apply. I'm working on a bunch of projects which I care about. And I think this is this is a project you guys are making a big difference in the world. And I think for me, at main access point right now is like financially, getting clarity around that. And I think that's going to go with the scope of work, knowing, okay, how you envision, let's say, the compensation working for this, and then working that out. I think that would help me out a lot.
Great.
So, yeah, I can go. Well, because my beautiful, as far as this project goes, it's been like really full. I've been feeling like I'm at the base, as Randy, one of my colleagues says, of Nunga Parbat, which is like a huge mountain in the Himalayas. And it feels like I'm, at the kind of building this base camp. This is kind of like, for me, I've been sitting with this analogy that he kind of placed in front of me and spoke and shared with me. And I was like, yeah, like this is really huge. And then also noticing how much larger the scope is as we step into, my big question today was also addressing the accreditation piece, because that layer is big. Like, and depending on how we want to be accredited, whether it's with medical professionals, social workers, counselors, the layering of that whole scope of training program. And then now building our skeleton, our blueprint, within that criteria of those is a very, very huge undertaking. And so I'm just, I'm really, I think for me, I feel like, yeah, I'm like Ginger. I really feel like I need more clarity of roles and how we can all move into this creative process of building the skeleton, which I've been primarily doing. I've been I met with Annie last week, which she helped kind of support the model, which I've kind of encapsulated and kind of laid in so far into the blueprint, which I've really loved. And now that Lee's feeling kind of pulled in too, and he wants more clarity of what what we're coming into. Yeah, I think it's just, it's big. It's feeling for me, I'm like, woo, patience, just sitting in this and asking for patience, and that, people are going to come and we're going to fall into place and we're going to have these meetings and discussions around it. So yeah. And then personally, like if I want to go more on the personal side, I've kind of been feeling a little disenchanted in my own personal process with some things, and just really trying to, let that flow and be with it. And yeah,
is confusion part of your personal side of things too? It seems to be a theme today.
Confusion, yeah.
Patience,
a bit, yeah. It's some confusion and just I think discouraged a bit. So
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So if I may say, great, thanks for all the check-ins there. And it's really is, if I can say, because there's many projects, right? And what you're experiencing whether personally or in this piece that we're creating is, let me just tell you, it's normal, right? It's expected, and it's part of the process, right? Because doing any project, whether it be Sentinel 2.0, whether it be this, or creating the Sentinel or any other company, it's like moving a massive steam locomotive, right? It actually takes something to actually get that first turning to happen. And it takes effort, and then then you don't even know how much coal you're putting in or how hot you need it and what you need to put together, but it takes that first few turns to get that locomotive moving. And that's really where we're at. I mean, we're in the initial stages of pulling and doing things. So what your experience is normal, like it's a normal experience. And along with that, because being human, we go, this is the plan, this is the idea, and here's an idea of the completed product, and maybe we should be further along, or maybe I should know more at this moment about everything. And so to answer those things is that, yes, as you move forward and we move forward, is that items come up and we don't know, because we're actually creating a lot of this from nothing. even though we have a body of work and research material and everything else, and we're creating the structure and as we are building that structure, we're going, okay, that's working, that's not working, and what do we have to put in place? So in saying that, that's one of the reasons why Lee's here, is because I've invited him along to have a look at what we're doing and see if he would like to be included in the process. And the initial process that Dana and I have been working on, so many D's, my goodness, is extrapolating the material under chapter headings, because it's actually, after the last 6 weeks or so, we've realized that, pulling out the material that's related to each chapters at the moment is the most efficient thing that we can do before we actually start producing any written chapter material.
Can I ask you a question about that, Richard?
Yep.
I was looking for the chapter. I remember seeing a list somewhere of like the different chapter topics.
Yep.
And I can't find it. And I do see in the Google Documents like there's like a little bit of a write-up of the first 3 chapters with some content. But is there a list of just the chapter topics themselves somewhere?
No. So basically, what I have on hand is and it's actually on our agenda. I've linked it, and so it's the blue, like where I'm calling it the outline of the curriculum right now, and that's so we've finished module 1 is the way I've kind of broken into now. There's going to be 3 modules, and of course this could evolve. Mm-hmm. And then right now we've developed module 1 with 6 chapters in it. And then now we're moving into module 2, and now we're trying to, this is where I'm hoping maybe Lee feels called to help support me in the next module, and then that will become chapter 7 onwards, and then we'll have another module. And so that's linked. We don't have kind of a general titled full, like for the whole, I haven't mapped that all out yet.
Oh, okay. So that could be something we could actually do, because that would be helpful for me as well. Because we do have chapter
I
title.
also feel, Richard, you know why I haven't done that is because I feel like we're lacking some reference material.
Oh, okay.
I do feel like there could be, sorry?
I agree. And what is nice about the chapter material, like if we can do those chapter titles, then we'll know what we're missing.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
There's definitely a lot of stuff missing. So to have a list of those things, maybe like, okay, we need to fill out, I can find, we can find those materials basically.
Yeah.
And that's why, yeah,
go ahead. The initial chapters, right? The head titles that were written were actually after reading and pulling them from the material that's there. And they might, chapter titles can change. It's like, there's obvious ones like set and setting, preparing your client, those types of things. And, but some of them are grouped, like there's chapters and sub paragraphs inside under different things, so that there'll be a number of those. Right. And so I think that's probably one of the projects this week to do for me as well. Go back to that and really clarify those chapter headings. That would be very helpful. And then move forward and continue to move forward in pulling out, the next module, like I feel that that's really great. It's productive and it gets the next people that are coming into it to be able to have a body of work to work with without having to go through all the material. So it's really, we're in the research stage of this.
We are.
Go ahead, Lee.
I'm wondering, would it make sense to create new documents for each chapter? So something with, let's say, where somebody's like copy and pasted the relevant material, so they have something that they can look at and then, start creating like an outline for it.
Yeah, we could do that. We could create separate documents for each chapter that has the reference material kind of, outlined and on how we want it to flow based on, right, the subtitles and so on for each chapter. That could be another way of doing it as well. Yeah, I'm open to that idea. And we'd have to stack them, or somehow keep it fairly, or put it in a folder together, so that it's fairly, it's very, it's together, and and start that process. So I'm just going to write that down, actually. Document. I think, for me, I think it's like, because I've been primarily working on this, and I have found, like, I feel like I'm sometimes getting stuck. I have felt like I'm getting stuck and trying to see the fluidity of what we want to create, and then noticing, like, that's where I got stuck, and then noticing that the next module was going to be the path, which is like the medicine and the wonderment. This is kind of the titles I've used so far. And then I was like, oh yeah, I can already see that we don't have the content there for, like, fully, like, the spectrum of content for substance, like the psychedelics, the plant medicine, the dosage, the data collection, the benefits of it, all that piece. Oh, Richard, you're muted. Which we can find, but I think that for me, it's just also, I think for me, it's just been nice to have others supporting and building on it, and then anyways, that's just been my own process with it, that I kind of feel like I keep getting stuck, and then I got to pull back and then go back to it again. So yeah,
you bring up a very good point there, Dana, because when writing this material, so if there's things like that, right, what you're talking about the medicine stuff, is that you will, sorry, there's the testing for the fire hydrants. Anyway, so but what you're bringing up is very relevant, because what we have is that when you have a gap like that, you just put that in there, make a note on it, right? And then the team comes back to it. This is, you don't have to go, okay, I can't find this, or where is it, or whatever. We just look at it as a gap, and then we are able to, honey, I'm not able to do that with these guys. That's what we do. We just make a place market there, right? And then what we do is, somebody else is here. So we're in lockdown, you guys. We're in lockdown. Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay. So strange. I'm on a meeting, so.
Are you? Okay, I can come back.
Yeah, come back, yeah, please.
Well, the thing is, I have a webinar at 3, so.
Sorry?
I have a webinar, well, no, we have meetings all the time.
Okay.
How long will it be on for?
Oh, just maybe like 20 seconds or so.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna make a noise here, you guys, just to update you.
okay.
So just to say that is that we have that's it. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we get my train of thought here again. Is to just make a marker of that, and then we all come back to it and just say exactly what you said. Is just to, like, this is what's missing. I've noticed this, and that what you just spoke about specifically is really an area that Gerald's very good at, right? That research piece on compounds and other pieces like that. And there is the research out there. There's for documentation about is the Pakal book there.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
we have
that.
that. Yeah,
We have
exactly.
that on reference.
Yeah, and a lot of the material, like specifically, like if you want dosage and everything else, all that stuff is online. It's on Google. Dosage and everything else. So we can find all that sort of stuff. So any questions, just note the questions under the chapters.
Yeah, I think too, with this piece, with the bringing, like, the medicine and if we're going to bring in the content of it from that science perspective, the clinical perspective, I'm thinking like we may need to actually create our own, you know, table, or take a table of or graph, whatever, right, and our spreadsheet, and like, are we, like, how whole are we, like, what are we bringing them all in? Are we, like, this is my I actually added that to the agenda today, like kind of just wondering what the full spectrum is of, you know, are we bringing in all the psychedelics and all the plant medicines and going to go through that depth of research?
Well, what we're going to do, what we want to do is give a general knowledge of substances, right? How they're used and what they're used for, as far as how are things used. And don't forget that this area is organic, right? It's growing. Mm-hmm. We have so we have the basis of what we use, right? We're using, MDMA, 3-MMC, ayahuasca, wachuma, so there's the things that we're actually, and the actual things that we're using for clinical therapists is not wachuma. We're using MDMA, psilocybin, 3-MMC, and 5-MeO-DMT. So we're using those substances. So there would be the top ones, and how would they be used, and why and when not to use certain things. Like for instance, reading somebody's intake form, and if somebody has high anxiety, you would not put them straight into a psilocybin ceremony. You would more than likely put them on an MDMA cycle, so to start off with. So
Okay.
Yeah.
So
who's next?
I'm gonna have to go soon, so
yeah,
maybe I'll go next, and then I can sign off after that. And I'll watch later to catch up with what I missed. But I was thinking about this too. I had a very similar question, because there's a large scope, and there's a desire to draw on the like Indigenous and the ceremonial component, and yet there's not quite a bridge for that in the Western model of even what's becoming legal soon. So I had a thought, and I'll just throw this out there as an idea. As I kind of pictured it as like, the course teaches the general competencies around all of the plant medicines, but then, and this might not work at all, but it was almost like people choose their specialty. People choose which one they're going to work with. So you can do that. Like, you can't really just work with all of them. As a therapist, as a practitioner, it's not healthy, and you need to kind of choose what's relevant. So as somebody becomes really proficient at one, for a while, at least within that container of a year, this is the one that they might choose to like major in. They might take general psychedelics, but I'm majoring in MDMA, or I'm majoring in 3-MMC, like, and that's like the one that you really deepen with, and you can have like cohorts of like what people are choosing the different things. So that was one idea that I had, and you still would get, of course, the general competencies around them all, so that you can work with teams, which is also a really important thing, which we do at the Sentinel. So that's great. I wanted to say about the chapters and the topics of the chapters. At this point, what would maybe really help me too is to get a clear sense. Like if I look over here and it says, and I'm flipping over to the curriculum outline, and I was reading one of the headings. Where is it? It was kind of like, gotta find it now. Yeah, working on self-worth and worthiness, and then commitments, roles, and qualities of the practitioner. I need to understand a little bit more about what those are. So in the list of chapters, if we can kind of have like a sentence or two of what the intention for that chapter is, that would be really supportive. And then what I would like to do, what feels like I kind of have a vision of like how it could help, is to sort of select a few chapters that are relevant to the material that I'm proficient in, and take that and be like, okay, let me build this chapter. Let me build a course. Like it won't be the entire course, but like, let me build a module or a workshop or a section of that, and I can work with that over the course of a few months, that, and I can wrap my head around what's needed in terms of what's missing, and I can do the research, and that feels like it can, like a role that I could play that's more contained. And then it's kind of like, if I'm going to develop the curriculum for a course that I'm willing to teach, and I know that it's a section of a larger course, that actually really helps me narrow my focus and be more productive.
That's great. And you really pointed to that point, is because, and that's what we want everybody to do, is to really come in and develop their own material that they feel very comfortable in. And then, so why don't you tell us, not right now, but send it to Dana, that, which piece you would like to do, and then do that, because that's what Annie's doing. That's what others are doing. And let me update you. Some things that I'm doing in the background is that I'm speaking to a number of people, one, that are like in the webinars group, because each piece of this is assisted, matched with a webinars, like weekly or bi-weekly, with guest speakers. And one of those guest speakers is the sorry, there you go. Get lots of people coming in today. Go on.
You're on your last day of quarantine.
Hi, Richa.
Great to see you.
So I've got ayahuasqueros coming in, and that have had lots of training and everything else, and to be guest speakers along with, so as we train, people actually get to speak to certain people that are working in the fields. So we do that. And then along with that, we also have lots of material that we're building with the Canadian Psychedelic Association. For instance, today, Jillian's putting on a webinar for lawyers that work in the field of psychedelics and psychedelic law. So we're very interested for everybody, like, where are we historically in the laws, and why are we in this position anyway, historically? How did we get here? Where are we going? So all these questions, so it's adjunct, right? So there's one thing, exactly what Ginger said, is that, like, there's the base of the course material, something that we can deliver that's accepted by not just us or the participants, but as the body of as training, a training that's accepted by the population, by doctors, clinicians, by the medicine circles. So everything that's in there has a standard, right? And of course, we'll go back. You have to go. Okay, Ginger. And I'll carry on. And so thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.
Talk to you soon. But you'll send that to Dana, right? Okay. So we have those pieces coming together, and I was going to answer something that you asked before, Dana. I can't remember now, but that's basically, so each, so there's a number of things that support each other. So really what we're looking for a basis, a platform to stand on, that has best practices, policies, and procedures inside that. And information, and we have, sorry, I know what I was going to say, and we have a lot of information that we do not have to reinvent, because we have videos and information and books that are written that are coming out all the time and updated. And so we have relevant information that we can just plug in as course material, like listen to this 1-hour podcast and you'll have a lot of information, right?
Yeah. So Richard, I think, a big piece, like for us continuing to build it, but I need to know personally, if we're stepping in and embarking on this whole accreditation piece.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of, that layer is intertwined, like they're of the same. To create the blueprint and the curriculum, it's like you're going to be redoing. If we start building it, like, we'll be redoing some things if we don't start getting that criteria of what we have to meet. Sentinel has entered admit. Oh, there's somebody coming in. Oh, it's probably Janet.
Oh. Oh, Janet's coming in. Hello.
Yeah,
Hi,
there's
Janet.
Woo! Hi, Janet.
Hi, Janet.
Good morning. Sorry, you guys, I was caught up in a meeting that happened in the lodge.
Oh, great. Well,
Here we
welcome,
are.
Janet. This is Lee.
we are.
Hey, Lee, you've met Janet before.
Yep.
Hi,
So,
nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
yeah.
Great.
And Lee's been brought on board to check things out for the program that we're developing, and to see if he'd like to be a contribution. And the area of it is the the research and pulling information out and helping us with the chapters. And then
Wow.
and then Dana was just asking me about the accreditation for the thing, and I've gone through some of that, and I've talked to a doctor friend of mine, and you're correct. It's a massive piece of work, right? So, I mean, my first gut feeling about all this is that we actually get the first body of material down, right? This is, as we started in the very beginning, this is organic, right? And we're talking about 27 chapters of material that we're doing. And I think once we have those chapters, and maybe we'll be going back and having to go back over there and having somebody to pull out the research material and match it and identify the person that first developed that material, like reference material that you have to do for accreditation. But that's a whole nother job in itself, right? It's a massive.
That's what I'm feeling too. It's like within the project, and then that piece with the accreditation is like a whole other
So
layer that needs
I
to be
yeah.
supported with someone.
Yeah. So I yes, but the information that I have, it's such a big job that it's like let's get this first body of work together, right? And then come back and go, okay, somebody that's an expert in that field, be able to give them something and say, listen, how would we develop that into accreditation material, and what do we have to add to it? So, because otherwise we're working on top, like it's 100 different things we're trying to do at the same time. And specifically, it's like, so what stage are we're at this stage, we're at pulling the research material into an organized fashion under chapters, so we have a body of work that we can write and bring it. And then as we're going along, we're noting that what's missing, right? What's missing, and what we need to put in place. And I think the thing that goes along with that is, as we move in, is like, what do we need to, what is with the webinar material? What are we bringing into that module, right? It's like, who are we, what information do people need in a webinar to support that first module, for instance?
Yeah, and I think that webinar piece comes later, because then we can layer it in with the like within the module and the chapters, right?
Yeah.
Like all of that'll get linked after we have the map, the general kind of map and blueprint as we've
Exactly.
So Lee, how are you feeling with, like, are you feeling like there's any clarity?
I think there's a bit more clarity. So I mean, I think it makes sense what Richard's saying. So basically, we're giving our best shot, doing this, and then when it comes to accreditation, we'll figure out what the gaps are when we get to that. I think in terms of, like, for me to be able to meaningfully contribute, in terms of kind of like the substances, like knowing what the substances are, because I mean, I looked at that pick out document. There was probably like 2,000 different substances on there.
Yeah.
So I mean, knowing, okay, this is like a course for like general psychedelics, like what are those, what are those like 5 to 10 psychedelics that every practitioner needs to be familiar with?
That's very straightforward, because it's and there's dosage and stacking, and there's different things people use with different things. And I think that's what we'll do, is just that chapter itself, we'll just really get the people that really know that material like Bradley Foster's very good at that stuff, and and Sasha and all the trainers and teachers and stuff. We'll put that together, right? Because there's certain baselines for substances, right? Like for instance, it's 125 micrograms of MDMA is a base of that with a booster of 0.70. So that's what you use with a client. So you take it, and that time of that coming on is 40 minutes to 1 hour, and the boosters are an hour and a half into it. So these are all not people that work in the field know what that is, and then what to look for. So that's what we'll grab the people with that we need to. All the other ones is, I would like to say, do what you're comfortable with, right? Make notes of what you're not clear about, right? And then like just what you said, Lee, that piece, and then we'll put all that material together. Work on what you can, and leave the other stuff. Don't try and figure it out, because there's people that already do it.
Okay, right. So I've got an idea, kind of like what like a template could look like for these different things. I mean, pretty basic stuff like, okay, time to onset of like, I guess the experience of it, dosage, effects, that kind of chart, recommendations. What else? Duration of the entire experience. Essentially, I can, doing like a Google search, I could probably find a lot of the stuff, and, I can make a first crack at it, and then, you can bring in other people who are more knowledgeable, who can then refine and add to it.
Yeah, that's great. That's a research piece, and all that information's out there, right? You can, even the Wikipedia stuff, but a lot of that needs to be checked too, because it keeps on, that keeps on changing. The area of SSIRs, the information about, it keeps on shifting, Yeah,
I would also recommend, as we go through this process, what we might not have is perfect, but I would say keep a track of like sources and references, so just to make the whole process easier, especially when we move to that second stage.
And so
I think what I just want to say is, Lee, if you feel like, if you're feeling comfortable like continuing, and just, I think there's a lot of room to be creative, and then just putting it down, and what Richard's saying is that we're going to come back, and we can always bounce it off and do the deeper research later. And right now it's just kind of like trying to, I actually would like it would be great if you and I kind of did like built it out together, or you started on this next set, and then I could jump in and I could be building out maybe the next chapters or whatever, or the next module. And I don't know if you felt comfortable with that, but it would be nice to actually be kind of, it's nice to have two different perspectives on it. And maybe it'll just start forming from there.
Okay.
But,
I think that with two of you, you can really run through these modules very, quickly. You basically, you got 3 or 4 forms of research material there, and you can just start adding to the next module. So
great.
and just, I just wanted to let you know what I have, the way I've kind of built out the, going off of the model that Annie kind of supported me with modules, 3 different modules, is I've really been following Mark Hayden's table of contents. And then from his table of contents, I've kind of been, so it's like I see the body of content there, and then I've kind of been overlaying it and seeing it's like, where does that fit within those modules, right? That's and refining it in to make those chapters, and then subtitles or subcategories within it. and then also using sashes, and then sashes gets overlaid on top of it. And that's kind of how I was doing it. And because the table of contents is like a fast way to write to get to the material and then see the content. So I've been using those as reference. And then there's all these kind of other bits of information, right, that are referenced. So that have to get put in. But those can all come in later too. Like it's just us kind of getting the skeleton, as we're saying, right? Like getting the chapters categorized.
Exactly. And I would say Mark Hayden's work is great, and it's more on the clinical side. Okay. It's more, it's a maps based approach. And Bradley Foster, oh, hang on, where am I? There I am. Bradley Foster's work is more in line with Sasha's work to bring in what we're looking, the ceremonial and the clinical. So all of them together are closer to what we wanting to develop, which is ceremonial work on this here and clinical work here, and bringing that middle road in. Okay. And then remembering that this is, so I think one of the things I haven't done and enrolled in it's for everybody is that, okay, why, like what we're talking about is actually a piece, right? It's what we're actually talking about is building communities out that support each other, because that's the why. It's like we're building healthy communities, healthy family, healthy individuals, and healthy communities. And so the intention of this, and Annie's not here right now, but the beginning for anybody is thank you. There you go. Right?
There it is.
There it is.
It's connected to self and worthiness, which is like module 1. So it's about us doing the self, like the work of self and connection. And then from there, and the commitment to do so, and the service to do so. And then we work towards, I don't know if you guys can see this.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Yeah, that's good.
And then it goes to the path, which is, this is the next module that we're on, Lee, is basically, and the path is actually 2 separate things. This is actually us now using what we've learned about our connection to self to work on the discomfort of our emotions, so staying and holding space for that and having that internal world resourced, and the social justice that comes up within that. But then, and then this circle actually is the medicine or the resource, or it's the path that so it's right. So if you're a medicine carrier, then that's a part of this piece here. And then from there grows into the fruition, which is the authentic wisdom that you have within yourself. And whenever anything in here is not working or there's a disconnection, we go back to this.
That's right.
And that's basically, so Annie has, and basically she's offered this, and this is, the form of this is that we're embodying mutual healing. And we're embodying and fully integrating, she's a major integrator. So she was also speaking to the fact that how are we going to then deliver this content and go through these different chapters so that the material actually gets fully embodied. And it's not just, here you go, here's all the information. And then we're like, oh, and then we're kind of lost. That we actually maybe have this component of like a 20 or half hour integrative call on the material, on a short bit of material, like doing it into these smaller kind of blocks, because and then maybe bringing in exercises, facilitators that can actually do embodied exercises around the content, so that we bring it in and we're able to fully
we're embodying the material, and so what we're talking about, Lee, is that we're not separate from the material. It's like, and as the trainers go through this, or anybody goes through this program, they're not the like we started off with the conversation, though, there is the teachers and students, but they're both, right? They are the student and teachers, and they've had to be the student to be able to teach the material. So nobody goes through a psychedelic therapy course without being a student. And that's one of the key things. And that's one of the things that we're bringing to the world, because some people in the world thinks that you can do this work and be a teacher and teacher only without doing the work. And in our experience, in the years of experience, that is not possible, because if you're not doing your own work, then you cannot sit with somebody that is going through their stuff, like going through their cathartic experience. So that's great. And that's really the theme of the whole program, is the embodiment of the course, not a course taught to, like
and to fully integrate, my understand is you still always need your teachers. Or
yes, exactly. Yeah,
like you're always to integrate, no matter if you're the teacher with the student, you're still always going back to being the student with your teachers to
That's
actually integrate deeper and more layers of it.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and to update Lee too, is that Annie already has a course that overlays this whole piece, and it's really an intake and integration piece, and it teaches all these pieces. So what we're doing is fitting inside of that a course material, reading and webinar stuff that assists in that, a body of material. So
like I can maybe hand draw that out again and make it clear, and then take a picture of it and post it.
I'm going to send you, there's a program that I just found again, and it is called it's mind mapping. It's called MindMeister.
Oh boy.
And it's like German at the MindMeister. I'll find it. At any rate, that is a mapping program, and I've been looking for the map program. I just found it yesterday, and you can build out on that program.
Okay.
I think it's
there. I just want to put another piece out there. So a bit of that, the grounding, the path to fruition. There's also this piece here, and so what it was in the grounding. It's where we are starting from, and so the reason why we're doing this work and showing up to do this is because of disconnection.
Mm-hmm.
And then the path is actually, how do we walk the path towards connection as as a psychedelic therapist or medicine carrier. And the fruition is of the coming from the authentic wisdom that lives within us and connecting to that, and then recognizing that there's always mutual healing.
Sorry, there's always mutual.
There's mutual healing happening.
Thank you. I just couldn't hear the final
word. Healer, right? Like that. It's not, oh, I'm healing you. It's actually mutual. It's mutual.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's great. I think we have a couple of minutes that I can complete this call. And I know we haven't answered some calls. Lee, I'll have another conversation with you about your initial questions and stuff. So we'll do that offline. And then I think what we're doing, the next steps, right, moving forward, is exactly what you were just talking about, Dana, is putting all those together in a clear mapped area, right? And then that we are putting down that what are we working on next between Lee and yourself, and what Ginger's up to there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then start building out on that, right?
Yeah.
And I think really what Ginger was speaking to as well is that other members that aren't with us, like Gerald and stuff, is that, that they have specialties, Gerald is a policy writer and researcher. And so he has a depth of knowledge in those areas. So really it's, I think when we get the basis of this, like 27 chapters of this material, we have a really good foundation to start with. And I want to remind everybody that this is an organic process. It's never going to be finished, in the sense of there's new material coming in every week that to add to it. And there's affiliations with other organizations such as MAPS and Canadian Psychedelic Association that that we can build on the periphery that for people to click into and get information and research material that's already existing. So we don't have to recreate anything. We just have to find that material, and we have very good resources for that, the best. And if we're missing something, we'll find it, you know. That's a piece.
Well, I love thanks for letting me arrive late, and I feel so good about everything I've heard you say. And I love the pieces of paper you were holding up, Dana, because I think most of us feel better when you have a map. That's what we've always loved about maps. They help ground you as to where you are now, and it gives you an idea of where you're heading. And it's always so much easier to stop and check a map. And like Richard said, this will never be finished. And the other thing, just as I came in, you were talking about the accreditation piece, and the other just thought I had was that it's always so much easier to respond to something that already exists than try and make a decision around something as important as accreditation when it's not quite organized yet. So I'm in total alignment with what Richard said. Just as much as possible, let's get chapters created so that people have something to respond to at all different levels. And the last little piece I wanted to toss in is that now 2 days in a row, I've ended up spontaneously having amazing conversations with women who are medical doctors and who are also completely dedicated to the field of psychedelic and plant medicine based therapy. And yet another one is staying here this morning, Richard, and I'll do what I said again. And I didn't get a chance to type up the notes from the first integrated medical doctor I met with 2 days ago. And then this morning, I was just asking her about her puppy, and she has to travel. Why do you travel? Well, because I'm a locum doctor. And out came this entire history of her dedication and interest in this kind of work. I told her what we were creating, and she just said, "Oh my God, that's exactly what we need."
Well, that's exactly what we want too, because we want a doctors and psychologists to be on board with us, and we have them in the CPA, but we personally at the Sentinel want to have that alliance with people. And so and as we move into the private therapies that are coming up more and more, and getting government sanctions for that, we're going to need a doctor on, like call, at least in the local area, that's aligned with what we're up to. So, okay.
Richard, just to be pertinent to that, can I set up an appointment with you to speak to either one or both of these women? Because I think you just get to the heart of it instead of a lot of emailing information back and forth. Or
yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. And I'm just got to go on a 2-hour meeting right now. So I want to thank everybody. I don't have time to do acknowledgements right now, but I will acknowledge all of you and thank you very much for your dedication and commitment to this project. And we're moving forward. Each week we're moving forward a little step, and we will see it. We will see it start to come into a like a solid foundation there. It will be there. So, and then we'll have that personal satisfaction, like, oh, thank you. And for instance, just to close with this, I worked for 6 months. We worked for 6 months on the Sentinel 2.0, the expansion for the Sentinel. And that was supposed to be a 3-month project, and it was a 6-month project. And yesterday, it just went to the lawyers. So, yeah. Hello.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. So there you go. Right. It's incredible.
Important stuff takes time.
Yeah. And yet stay with it. Stay the course. Okay, guys, I have to go. I'm on a board meeting. I love you all, and I'll talk to you later. Thank you. Thanks, Lee.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.